Welcome back, 412-575-2600 on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Also taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. Got an update here for you. We have Patriots and Tennessee going into the fourth quarter. Patriots get an interception off of Ryan Tannehill. Here's an interesting stat. In all 7 of his games at Gillette Stadium, Ryan Tannehill has now thrown an interception in each of the 7, and New England takes over possession down by a point early in the fourth quarter. And of course, you mentioned it earlier, the Texans beat Buffalo 22-19 in overtime. Really exciting comeback for Houston. After Buffalo had a 16-point lead, Houston scored 19 unanswered to have the lead in the fourth quarter. And of course, Buffalo comes back and ties it after a pretty controversial decision by Houston to go for it on 4th down and 1. They were on Buffalo's 30-yard line. The probably normal thought would be to just kick it and go up by 6 points and make Buffalo drive the length of the field with no timeouts, but they didn't decide to do that. They tried to be aggressive and close out the game. Buffalo got the stop, and it allowed them to eventually drive down the field and tie it and put it in overtime. In the meantime, we got a tweet from Jeremy who says, who are your Super Bowl picks? He has Kansas City against New Orleans. I like New Orleans on the NFC side, too. I think they're one of the hottest teams going into this. San Francisco, I can't say much against San Francisco. That defense has been pretty good. They find ways to score when it's necessary from the score, and Jimmy Garoppolo has been pretty efficient, so it's hard to really count against San Francisco, but I like what New Orleans is doing. I'm just really sold on that offense, and I think Drew Brees is hungry to get one more shot at it. On the other side, I can't go against Baltimore just yet. I can't. And this game right here has a lot to do with it. Let's say Tennessee holds on and beats New England. That means Tennessee's going to Baltimore next week. So Baltimore probably has a pretty easy path, and they're probably going to end up being at home in the AFC Championship game, which will probably, I would guess, against Kansas City. I can't see Houston getting past the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's assuming if Tennessee wins this game, and then Tennessee would have to face Houston. So if that's the case, it would be Tennessee for Baltimore to face, and then Houston would go to face Kansas City. However, if New England holds on, now you have Houston at Baltimore, you have New England at Kansas City. That could change things up a little bit. I'm curious as to how these matchups turn out, but I'm going to stick with my picks for now with Baltimore and New Orleans going to the Super Bowl. Let's go to the phone lines. We have Cole in Harrisburg. Cole, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hi. So with Kenny Pickett, Paris Ford, and Jalen Twyman set to return to Pitt for the 2020 season, do you see Pitt breaking into the top 25 next year?
They got to win games to do it, and thank you for the call. It's not a bad question. They're going to have talent next year. They're going to have a good bit of talent on defense. I think that's the thing you look at and you feel better about. The talent on defense isn't the thing that bothers me. It's the talent on offense, and can they execute? They had a lot of talent on offense this season. They had talent at wide receiver. They had talent at running back. But they also had a lot of drop passes and a lot of stalled out drives. And if you're going to win in 21st century college football, you have to score, especially in the second half. What has been the thing that's plagued Pitt in the past couple seasons? Scoring in the second half. You have to be able to do that, and not just in a bowl game against Eastern Michigan. You got to do it on a consistent basis, night in, night out, even up against ACC competition. And I'm going to say this one more time. They're in a division that's probably one of the worst in the Power 5. I'm putting that out there right now. Their best team in their division lost their conference championship game by 45. Pitt won it last year, and they got stomped by Clemson. This is a division that's not that strong. So if you're going to try to crack the top 25 like your question suggests, they got to win games against division competition. It was good they beat North Carolina, but you got to start following through against some of these other teams in your division, and you got to score points more frequently and more efficiently to do it. Let's go to Al in Bethel Park. Al, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Josh. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You know what? I got a solution for the Penguins, what they can do to replace Jay Gensel. And it wouldn't even cost them a lot, I don't think. And these guys are on one-year contracts. And I think they'd be good fits. They can make a trade for Wayne Simmons. He's on a one-year contract. But even a guy who's younger, who I think they can control, who right now is having a phenomenal year, is my main man, Anthony Duclair. He's young. He's already scored over 21, I think he's got 23 goals. He fits into their thing about getting younger and faster. And I love his game. What do you think about those two guys? Thanks, Josh.
I love the first one. Thanks for the call. Wayne Simmons, as an addition to this team, it kind of solves two different problems. You want a guy that can help you on offense, and a guy that might be able to help you with a little bit as far as grit, as far as toughness, a guy that can get in some people's faces. Wayne Simmons is that guy. I've heard some people talk about Wayne Simmons as being a hockey player's hockey player. I think that's a great description for a guy like Wayne Simmons. And the perfect definition, I think, of a hockey player's hockey player is if he's on your team, you are glad he's on your team. And if he's not, you hate the days when you have to face him, because he's a guy who can not only turn defense into offense and get opportunities to score and cash them in, but he's also a guy that can really get under your skin. He's super tough. He's a guy that can get into a lot of guys' faces. He's a guy that will stand up for his teammates. We've seen it over the years with Philly when people got in Wayne Simmons' face, and he had no problem responding and being one of the more gritty guys in the pile or in the lineup. So that's something that I really like about him. If that is the case, you'd like to see this team continue to get younger. I think that's one thing that's been good. I think that's why the Dominic Cahoon trait was so great. You get a guy that's younger who has some scoring ability. I think that's why it's important to have guys like Zach Aston Reese and Teddy Bluger. Not only are they young, they're fast, and here's why these young guys in particular, I like him in this lineup with Mike Sullivan. They play Mike Sullivan's style of hockey. When Zach Aston Reese came out of college hockey and this team signed him, the one thing he talked about was how he took pride in his 200-foot game. So it's no surprise that Depends like what he does, because when you have a guy who plays that 200-foot game and takes a lot of pride in it, he's going to slot in beautifully to what Mike Sullivan does. So if you can add more youth into the lineup, it does give you more guys who maybe can use that speed and that athleticism to maybe help that 200-foot game that Mike Sullivan always talks about. And he's talked about it from day one. He always talked about possession and pursuit and pace. Those are the three things that he was bringing to this organization from his first press conference. That's what he's talked about, and that hasn't shied off at all during his time here. And if you can get some younger guys, that probably helps you do that. But you kind of walk that thin line, because if you want to put some younger guys maybe on the upper parts of this lineup, you might not get the results that you're looking for. A lot of people were kind of worried about Dominic Simone. Some were frustrated with him because he was a younger guy. You put him on Sid's wing, and sometimes the production wasn't always there. But over time, you see that it does show up. And when you get to a situation like a stretch run or in the playoffs, you might not see the results you're looking for because it might be a smaller sample and everything may not even out the way you want it to. But, this is all talking in theory here. So it's kind of hard to look at it, from one particular side of the scope or another. But then again, maybe that's the risk you take. In the meantime, we'll take a break. We come back, more phone calls and more tweets. We'll give you another update on that other AFC wildcard game. Stick around.